wrestling's going to start on Monday.
Must be a sign. Welcome to the Sports Wrap, George Ringer. Happy Veterans Day. Are we talking about that at the end, or are we starting with the veterans?
We can start anywhere, but I was
Veterans Day. Come on.
There's the Mosquito football team that was played in 1943 in the South Pacific, or 44, by some of the finest football players this country ever produced that were all in the Marines and Navy. And so these guys played, and that was one story. And the other story that's come out just recently is John Glenn and Ted Williams. They fought together in Korea, and Ted Williams was John Glenn's wingman. And they were like the best of friends for a long, long time, and so
it makes total sense, right?
Well, and it's one of those things where it got down to Ted Williams. He lost 5 of his probably most productive years flying airplanes. In both World War II and Korea. I mean, and when you take a look at his batting averages, he accomplished some things that nobody has accomplished since. And you just kind of, and probably never will, but he could have actually battled a career of 330, 340, or somewhere in the upper threes, and 400s. I mean, he could have really had himself an incredible career. But those two guys, what a relationship! That's Americana if you ever did hear it. And you go to Fenway Park and you see all the green seats in the outfield, and there's one red one. And that's the seat that Ted Williams hit his last home run, his last time at bat. Which, if you can't see the romance in that, you're missing the point of baseball. Anyway, those are the veterans, and when you start taking a look, especially the guys that were playing in the 50s and the 60s, all of them were vets. All of them had been through, extraordinary things. Yogi Berra was a sailor, and it was at Normandy. And Warren Spahn was a soldier, and Warren Spahn pitched until he was 43, 44 years old. He was still pitching. He is one of my number for one of the toughest guys that ever hit. But hardcore servicemen, and there were many of them. There really were.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyway, happy Veterans Day. Thanks everybody for what they've done and what they're doing and what they will do in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, in fact, when I first got to UMD as a freshman, there was a guy that was a sophomore, and he had just gotten out of the Navy, so he was 24 years old, and you'd sit around and you'd see these guys. Well, he's a grown man, and I'm 18 years old, and you hang out with people like this, and it's just.
That's how you become a sailor, I guess.
That's how you become a sailor, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, there's some
story within the
story.
Yeah.
There's stories in the story.
Well, anyway, what would you like to start with sports-wise?
Well, let's start with the Vikings. Because actually, if you take a look for weekend sports in Minnesota, they were the highlight.
Yeah, right here, the top line says, tough Saturday and Sunday for Minnesota fans.
They were. It was just incredible.
Only bright spot, and that was like a 10-watt bulb.
So this is the prevailing question that all coaches ask themselves, one way or another.
Okay.
Is any win really, truly ugly? This may be the case here, because this was an ugly win, and so we have some guy named John Parker Roma.
We absolutely dominated them.
Every angle.
Every angle except on the scoreboard.
Couldn't put it in the end zone.
Yeah,
talk about Roma. Come on, he got a new kicker.
Is he going to make us forget about Will Reichard?
No, I don't think that's the case. And even he said last night, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but this is a high point in my career. And he walks on, and of course, he skidded a couple of across the bowls and stuff. But, hey, we're real happy to have
all I can say
John
is,
Parker Roma.
All I can say is Will Reichard, don't take this the wrong way, but you weren't missed. Every kick was a touchback. I believe that he kicked out. He kicked out 5 times. I think all 5 were touchbacks.
Yeah.
And he made all 4 of his field goals.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That.
Enough said.
That doesn't matter. You have in Reichard.
Yeah, you got a guy who
one of the greatest kickers that ever hung around.
And probably can give you a 60.
Yeah.
Plus.
Yeah. And so it's hard what they're going to do there. But there were no touchdowns. Offensively, it was just poor performances. 3 interceptions by Darnold, and it's just like, you really can't. And we had 142 to 143 total yards. 143 total yards. And they almost upset the Vikings with that. The Vikings had
what blows my mind about this Sam Darnold performance, which I'm sure we're going to talk about a bit more, but the interceptions in the red zone are, the one obviously wasn't, the one that was trapped shouldn't have been an interception and could have cost the Vikings a game for the third time or second time in 3 weeks or whatever it is. But then to think that Jared Goff could go out and have a worse night than what Sam Darnold did, and both those teams win.
And they did.
And they both win.
Well, you know, and
Goff throws 5 interceptions.
Detroit is one of the things, and if you take a look at that, Kansas City and Denver was the same deal. And they had them right by the short hairs, and all of a sudden, what do you concoct? I'm not sure that Kansas City is capable of losing. They're capable of beating themselves, but I'm not sure what team is going to beat them. And you know what they're looking for? They're looking for a perfect season. It happened once before, as you recall. And so and it never in the expanded schedule.
I got 2 points on that. Kansas City keeps finding a way. How do you block a field goal that could? I mean, come on, they've won every other way.
They did it, yeah,
but they win by blocking a field goal as time expires for a game-winning field goal by Denver. And the other thing is to think that Miami went 14-0. And then basically had to go 2 playoff games, Super Bowl, and go 17-0. Kansas City's got to go 20-0. They got to win 20 times, and not that 17 isn't hard enough, but to win 17 regular, 2 playoff, and then the Super Bowl with the target on your back the whole time.
Well, you know, and
I don't think it can happen.
This is. I was watching this weekend, and I watched Philadelphia and New York and the Cowboys. Now,
for how long did you watch that disaster?
I did.
It was ugly.
You know, why did I watch Philadelphia?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
because
Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley. He's worth the price of admission, I suppose.
He is the price, and you know, and who's his partner? Jalen Hurts. Okay, and so you have these two guys. What a combo! Does it remind you of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry? Does it? Yeah. Okay. Does it remind you of McCaffrey and Purdy? You know, and so you have to have that good quarterback and a standout running back if you're going to succeed, because every one of those quarterbacks can run. Now,
So who's the I'm being a jerk here.
Yeah.
Who's the running back for the Washington Commanders?
Well, you see, I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you can't win without that key running back. But if you have it, it's a lot easier.
As the Vikings found out yesterday when you got Aaron Jones and not somebody else.
Oh, well, and as long as we're talking about Aaron Jones, he took a pop, had to go into the locker room, came back out, a couple of busted up ribs, and he's going out there and knocking heads with some of the toughest people around. I'm saying right now, Aaron Jones has my respect for toughness.
If he has those broken ribs, and if you've ever broken a rib, and I've never, but I've heard how painful it is. Okay, it's tough to breathe. Try playing football.
Well, I've had him separated, and you can't get comfortable in any way, shape, or form. You can't sleep. You can't sit. They
didn't go North Dallas 40 on him, did they? Sorry.
I don't think so.
That's an old reference there. If you're young, you may not know that one. And anyway.
But anyway, the Eagles they rubbed out the Cowboys, and it's just
how bad are the Cowboys?
Well, I tell you, they're no good this year, and you know, they don't have a quarterback anymore, and they have this Jim Jones guy that's sitting up there. You can see him boil. And he's got a son sitting next to him. His son's boiling too.
That's fun. I love it. I love that they're boiling. I love it.
And so, you know, and also every about 15 minutes they flash that camera up there to see him cook, you know. And I just thought, by the fourth quarter, I'm laughing my butt off.
Tony Romo was very uncomfortable yesterday.
Tony Romo,
he didn't like doing that game.
You mean when somebody held up a sign, "Hey Romo, go in."
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
That's good. I like
yeah,
that.
Get on in. But and they even put Trey Lance in.
Did they put him in at the end?
Yeah,
Okay.
Well,
I didn't watch the end of it because I
It was
was.
the third quarter, and he was moving the ball. He ran the ball, and he threw a real nice little 10-yard pass, and then they picked him. I'm not sure just exactly. If I'm comparing any of these guys to Jackson or Hurts or Purdy or Josh Allen or these guys are true football freaks. They're just freaks of nature in terms of football, and you have a good running back that accompanies them, and they all do. Most good quarterbacks, they want to pair them up with somebody, and I think that Aaron Jones is a pretty good pair right now for the Vikes at that point in time. Sammy has gotten progressively worse the last 3 games.
So I had a thought.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you first before I give my thought. What do you think's going on with him? Why all of a sudden is he making these mistakes?
Well, I'm not sure why it is, but I think that maybe he might have been playing. I'm just pointing this out because he's had some really good games, and he has some great skills. And you got to remember, like, he was one of those first-round draft picks that was going to change the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think basically he's fine, but right now, I think he's second-guessing himself, and I think he's thinking, was the first part of the season just a fluke? And right now this is a better team.
Do you think? And this is my spec. I've got 2 theories, 2.5 theories maybe. Do you think that they have started to open the playbook to him, and it has become too much? There's too many. There's too many things for him. He can't. Early in the season, the playbook was this big. Now the playbook is this big, and there are too many things going on.
He's also thinking, I'm here now for X amount of games, and then J.J. McCarthy's going to be back in this thing, and they're still grooming him for this position. On the other hand, he had an opportunity to get this position, be the starting quarterback, and make J.J. beat him out. And
I think he has to look at it as being. He has to look at it. This is my next step.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to be here in Minnesota, but where am I going to get a free agent contract at? The other theory that I have, when he threw those interceptions yesterday, who was he throwing to?
Well, he was going to his wideouts because
which specific wideout was he going to?
Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson.
Yes.
Okay, so why? What have we learned about Justin Jefferson over the past few seasons? Throw me the ball anywhere, I'll catch it. Okay, so you, as a quarterback, you start to believe, I'll throw it to 18 and he'll go catch it.
And he had 2 people, they were keying on him from the get-go, and both wideouts. I mean, Oliver and Hawkinson, they got most of the passes between the 2 of them.
And then all of a sudden, when he started throwing interceptions, what was he doing? He was trying to throw to 18.
Yeah.
They're trying to throw to 18. So my theory is, we're forcing the ball to 18. Is he being told either by the coaching staff to throw it to 18, or is he being told by 18 to throw it to 18?
Well, there was another article in the Minneapolis paper this morning about how the wide receivers in the league are catching miracle catches. I mean, there's hardly a game that doesn't go by when somebody springs up for a 6-foot or 8-foot catch with one hand and bring it down and rolls over and gets both toes in. I mean, that happens almost every game. And Justin Jefferson, I mean, he leads the league in doing that. But they had these guys covered, and I think that they thought that if we can contain their wideouts, then we're good to go. But you're not going to be able to do that 2 games in a row. And plus the fact he got 402 yards. I mean, they didn't play that poorly.
Jamar Chase obviously had a very large night against Baltimore on Thursday night.
Yeah.
258 yards,
Yeah.
3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Do you think JJ was like, well, I got to go out and try to match? Anyway,
I don't know, but it's like right now, Lamar Jackson and Mahomes and Hurts, they can all ride in the same taxi together. And I think that Lamar Jackson's probably faster than any of the rest of them. I think maybe, I don't know, but Hurts can really run too. These cats can scoot. And when you got a quarterback that can scoot like that, especially Mahomes, who can pass it between his legs, around his back, over his head, he can pass in any direction you want. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to be one of those types of guys, if they can keep from getting hurt. But boy, is he fun to watch run. And it's just, anytime your quarterback gets 100 yards, you know you're getting something out there.
Nope, not you or me. What else? Did we learn anything else in the NFL? Besides the fact that Kansas City's really good. Baltimore is luckier than heck. I'm not sure how Cincinnati didn't win that game, but maybe, I don't know.
Let's just talk about Cameron Bynum.
Okay. Let's talk about him.
He had a good day yesterday.
Seems to have a lot of good days.
And then he broke out into dance that went for about a minute, and he calls himself Raygun. And Raygun is from the breakdancing from the Olympics. And she won the thing. She was from Australia. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see any of the breakdancing?
The only reason why I know about that is because I did see something on X last night or this morning about the explanation on what his dance was about.
Well, I'm not sure what it was about, but there's a lot of people that are upset about it. I don't care.
Upset about it?
Yeah, they were. It's just like, you shouldn't be doing any of that,
choreographed stuff.
Yeah. And why take a minute if you should have 10 minutes to get your 10 seconds to get your celebration and get out. Anyway, I don't care how long he dances. If he's getting 3 picks off of a really good team like this, I don't care if he dances like Gypsy Rose Lee. He's doing the job, and he's leading a really, really good defense.
How about the Jacksonville mascot coming out and breaking up Harrison Phillips' celebration in the end zone?
Well,
Come on! I thought it was great.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong. I thought it was awesome. You go out there, you have little games, you have a little fun. They always used to say
Phillips never gets a shot like this. He's the big old defensive tackle.
Well, they talk about the NFL meant no fun league. They're letting them have some fun.
Well, they are.
And you know what else I noticed this week? One more thing about the NFL. When did all of a sudden all these things start going to the referee review instead of the coaches having to throw their flag?
I don't know.
Did that all of a sudden become the new rule, like in the last 2 weeks or something?
Well, I'm thinking, and I'm hearing an awful lot while the decision is made in New York, and you're sitting in Los Angeles, and you just think, well, that's a distance call, and it's and
it's sped up. I think it's the speed up the game thing. That the coaches' challenges were taking too long. Hey, we can see that this thing, that the foot is in. Let's not go to the challenge. We can already see that it's in. It's easy. Let's get the game going.
Let's get going. Yeah.
I think they made a rule, and I like it. I think the game is better for it. They've got the technology to be able to do it. Let's move on.
When you say the call is on the field, and that's fine. That's great. That for every other reason. Plus the fact officials should be making these calls. And every time you see the ball bounce on the ground, we can see that. The camera angle has that covered. They can see it too.
Yeah, I had one call for the Vikings in the end zone. That trap that made me very unhappy. They even talked about it. The announcers were saying that the referee was like, "I can't." No, you can know that ball hit the ground. You know that
ball hit the ground.
You jerk. Anyway,
yeah.
Before we move to college football, because we're going there next. I want to make sure that I get CFL in here because the Grey Cup is set. The teams are set.
Who's going to play this year?
Well, Toronto went into Montreal and upset Montreal. And then the Blue Bombers took care of Saskatchewan at home.
So the Bombers are back in it.
So the Bombers for the 5th consecutive year are in the Grey Cup. It's at BC on Sunday, 5 o'clock. Go Blue Bombers. They made a choice this year. It was really a bad choice. They played the semifinals, the Eastern and the West, not Eastern, the East final and the West final. They played them on Saturday. So I got 3 TVs going, and then I got the CFL here on the old phone so that I can watch everything. They really made me work to be able to see it. So anyway, go Bombers. We can't lose again. Can't lose again. They won 2 in a row and lost 2 in a row. Now it's time to get back on it. All right, college football.
Okay, where do you want to start there?
You know what the big surprising thing is? The AP came out with their poll yesterday. 4 of the top 5 teams are from the
Big
Big
Ten.
Ten Conference.
You got Oregon.
Well, I thought the SEC was so good.
They are. They're just fantastic, but they're not as close to Big Ten this year. And besides, look at who are the top 4 in the top 5. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana is number 5. And I watched them play, and played in the big house on Saturday, and I channel flipped back and forth, and I caught.
There's plenty of channel flipping.
There was plenty of channel flipping going on, and I was pulling for him so hard because I know how hard it is to win in that place. And you saw these long-faced Wolverines. Didn't bother me. So
you know how I feel about Michigan, and if Jim Harbaugh was still there, I'd feel even worse about it.
Yeah.
But I was pulling for the Wolverines on Saturday. I love the underdog. Don't get me wrong. I can't pull for Indiana football. I can't. It's against whatever. I can't pull for Indiana.
my friend Lou Corso, he can.
Well, he bled Indiana red for a lot of years.
He's still bleeding. He's still bleeding Indiana. And
like
he's
I said,
just so happy. And they're 10-0.
It's a great story. It is. It is. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for real.
It's rigged.
And it's kind of, this is maybe a bad analogy. They're like the Boise State from 25 years ago. Nobody else believed that Boise State could beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl and all these other times that they've done these things. And maybe it's maybe it's good for college football to have that Cinderella in there.
Well, maybe it is, but as long as you brought it up, let's
I brought it up. What did I bring up?
You brought up Boise State.
Oh.
And so
Wait! Before we go, I was listening to their game on the radio Saturday night on the way home from the Fort Francis Lakers game, and it's not Boise, it's Boise. Boise.
Yeah.
It's the radio. I was listening to the Boise State feed on the radio, and it wasn't Boise, it's Boise. So
let's talk about Ashton Genty.
Thank you for giving me
because the Boise State Broncos have a really good running back, and he was a little bit slow the first half, and they even pulled him out. He was a little bunged up and all the rest of that. But his name is Ashton Genty, and he ran for 209 yards, 3 scores. And boy, when he explodes, he explodes. He's a candidate for the Heisman Trophy, and he is.
They're not going to let him win that because he plays on blue turf. They won't let him win it.
Blue turf. Can you imagine that? And their uniforms kind of blend so well. They got the white uniforms,
should be illegal.
Blue trim, and it's just like
should be illegal.
I asked my cousin who teaches there, and I says, "When are you going to get some green grass?" And she looked me in the eye. Said never. So there you go, Lisa.
Shouldn't be able to wear blue uniforms on blue anyway.
Yeah.
On blue turf. The reason why 4 of the top 5 teams in the nation are in the Big Ten is because 2 teams from the southern part of our nation took a shellacking.
They did take a shellacking.
Well, I can't say that Miami took a shellacking, but they got a whooping. They got a beating.
Miami got a shellacking, and how about Georgia?
Georgia really got pummeled.
Yeah, Mississippi. Ole Miss, it was raining out, and the kids still went out there and made a mess. So it was really something. And of course, LSU was going down to Alabama and really put the weapon on the Rolling Tide, and the Rolling Tide didn't have any of that, and they beat them up 42-14 or 42-13. And Alabama's not done yet. They're only ranked number 11, but they can pick it up.
Well, the LSU-Alabama game, each team had 2 losses. You lose a third time, you're out of the playoffs. So that had a lot of meaning, and Alabama made a statement. You would suspect that they're not going to lose the rest of the way. It could lose to Auburn, of course, in the Iron Bowl. But I would not think so.
No, and then there were a couple of other games. Notre Dame really rocked them, socked them to Florida State. I'm not sure exactly what happened to Florida State.
Florida State fired the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Well, okay, why didn't they fire them?
I don't know.
I suppose the buyout for the head coach is too much. They had to do something.
And then, of course, I couldn't help watching Colorado and Texas Tech.
That game ticked me off. Texas Tech is right there. They needed to finish the deal.
They just needed to finish, and that was, and that was a big one. But Colorado's coming around this year, and so they're not going to be doing anything like playoffs or anything like that. But prime time, he's there, and he seemed to be running around. I think he might have a fair to middling coaching staff. I'm watching these guys work.
He's got Warren Sapp working for him.
See, you get the best lineman that ever played the game, and there you have it, right there. You know me, I've always liked the guy. And of course, Kansas put a whooping on Iowa State, 45-36, and that surprised me.
Iowa State choked her away. They had their chance to be in the playoffs in the last 2 weeks. See ya.
Yeah. So it's
come on now, talk about your boys, would you?
Army.
Come on, talk about your boys.
It's like Army. I get a call from this guy right after the end of the first half when Army fakes a field goal. I mean, we're talking an automatic 3 points, and they were only up by, what was it, 14?
Well, I think it was 7-3.
7-3.
I think it was 7-3 at that point.
Right? So they could have been up. They could have been up 7, and they tried to fake it, which was it wasn't even run very well.
Well, the scary part was they had to score. They had to get in the end zone. There was no time left.
There was no time left.
So they had to get in the end zone from 25 yards out there on like the 20-yard line, 18-yard line,
well,
whatever
they made it all the way to the 10. And then that was the end of the half, and they asked Coach Munker, about this, and he said, "I regret that." And I kept on thinking,
wow, you
coached a lot of football games. You ever make a call that you regret? Oh, once, maybe twice. But that was really a dumb call. And they get a week off to think about that and look that over, and then they're going to go. Then they're going to meet Notre Dame over in New Jersey, and so they're going to be banging on each other, getting ready for that. And Notre Dame they still got prices to pay for that loss that they had a long time ago.
All right, I'm going to go. Did you watch the reveal show on Tuesday night when they revealed the top 12? And the guy on the right-hand side of the screen kept talking about, well, who should be most upset? That's what the question was. Who should be most upset? He goes, Army. Army should be most upset. And everybody's looking at him like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, there's 4 undefeated teams in the nation right now.
Yep.
One of them's number 1. Miami was, 3 or 4?
Yeah.
But BYU was 9.
Yeah.
And Army's 25. Well, they've got the same record. What's the deal? And now Miami's out of that. BYU lucked out. Probably got from what I understand, maybe a referee's.
Let me tell you about the referee's call. There was about 15 minutes of people throwing bottles on the field. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Well, since Texas did it and got the call changed.
Yeah, but right now the young Utes were throwing bottles. They were very upset. Yeah, but I'll tell you, it was a face mask call, and when you slowed it down, the guy had the face mask, and that's why you make those calls.
I could not stay up that late. My eyes would not allow me to. I was bleary-eyed by that point.
You got to practice the one eye thing where you rest one eye for a while and go to the other.
I woke up and it was over. I was just like, well, I don't know who won.
I wanted the Utes to win that game so bad, and I wasn't. I stayed up for that whole time. I wasn't going to go to bed till after.
I wanted BYU to win it because I want to see what the selection committee is going to do with BYU at 9-0, 10-0, 11-0. What are they going to do with them? Because if at the end, and my prediction is at the end, this is what it's going to be. Oregon and BYU are going to be the 2 undefeated teams. How far is BYU going to Did you hear this possibility that Army and Navy could play in the conference championship game first?
December 6th. And then
play the next week in the regularly scheduled
we
game.
call that 2 Army-Navy games.
Are they going to have 2 parties here at the Muni?
Well, I don't know. That first one's kind of serious. The second one for me is a celebration of sports and the service clubs. I mean, who do you pull? I pull for Army. I pull for Navy. I pull for Air Force. When none of the other ones are playing Army. But those are great, 3 great teams. Army right now is playing out of their mind. They got their quarterback. They call their quarterback Captain America. Well,
no pressure.
No pressure there. And he's from Texas, and I guess like somebody said to him, he has never missed a day in the weight room in his life, and he's not. He's just etched. He's a very good quarterback. He can run, and
He only ran the ball 30 times on Saturday. If I heard.
30 times for a quarterback. Yeah, that's a nice weapon to have. So,
I think we're avoiding the elephant in the room, by the way.
what's that?
Your Gophers. Not my Gophers. Your Gophers. Oof.
Oofta. No, I was disappointed in a lot of things except for my friend Ethan Robinson. He got a couple of picks and he was making tackles. But I'm not there. I don't analyze, but I'm watching Perich. He's blitzing a lot. I saw at least 3 times where he's diving for legs and the running back goes scooting by him. And I just sometimes they should have him play safety instead of being this Russian linebacker. But he's so big and so strong, and that once out of 4 times when he hits good. So, but I think that was, I hated to see that, because when you have those cornerbacks down there all by themselves, taking on linemen and a running back, it's a tough thing. You got to have double up on there. You got to have 2 people on those people.
I'm pretty fair most of the time, I think. But the one official, when you're looking at the screen, the guy on this side, the deep judge, the side judge, whatever judge he was, he's not the back judge, but the one on the sideline, he didn't want to see the Gophers win that game.
And I sometimes think that's what happens in some of these stadiums.
They threw the flag on that one play where I don't know if he touched him. He may have put his hand on him, but he definitely didn't interfere with him. And then the next play, the same guy just about runs over our guy and then yanks him. And there's nothing. And I'm like, well, it's the same guy watching the same two players. But
when you see a game like this, you think they're going to make mistakes, they're going to make bad calls, as long as they balance it out somewhere along the line. There was no balance out on this one. And
there was no balance.
There was no balance, and they couldn't get my good friend Daniel Jackson rolling, and Mr. Spencer, he wasn't catching much either, and so they had to rely on Darius Taylor and Marcus Major, and that's
they could not run the ball effectively.
They could not run the ball effectively,
which would have forced Rutgers to get into a situation where they had to bring some people up and where we could throw the ball, and we could never get them uncomfortable.
If they don't play focused the next game, it's against Penn State. They got a week to prepare. It could be a long afternoon. They can't play like that against Penn State.
No, and I'm not. I mean, I'm not even holding any illusions that we're going to beat Penn State. Matter of fact, as long as we keep it within 3 touchdowns, I'll probably say, okay, we didn't do too badly.
Every time I think that, I think Mississippi, Georgia.
How about Georgia Tech and Miami?
Georgia Tech and Miami.
Did that cost them the Heisman Trophy? Jeez,
we said earlier when Georgia Tech played Florida State over in London, there's just Florida State's going to just blow them around. No, Georgia Tech upset them, and they come back and beat Miami, and those prognosticators, they don't like that.
Scary stuff.
It is scary stuff.
What else you got college football before we move on? I see you got St. Thomas.
Well, yeah, there's some things going on here. St. Thomas lost to Drake, and 22-19, by the way.
Close enough.
Tough game. And we have South Dakota State.
They put a snubbing on the old Fighting Hawks.
38-7 on the Fighting Hawks.
It wasn't even that close.
No, I from what I understand, and
I had that one on. That was a whooping.
Even Sue came back. She says, "Did you see the score?" No, I didn't know that one. And South Dakota beat Indiana State 49-0. Minnesota Duluth won a game.
Nice.
They beat Concordia 35-7, and our friend Kyle Walls-Jesper, he passed for 219, 3 touchdowns, and ran for 99 yards. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy is a moose. Do not pet the fluffy cow. That's this guy. He is just amazing.
Okay.
Bemidji State, they beat Minnesota Moorhead, and I mean, they did it 25-14. They did it convincingly. Sam McGrath, he always was a very talented quarterback, and I just know that once in a while he's going to bust loose. Minnesota Mankato beat Mary. Winona State beat Southwest Minnesota, and Augustana beat Sioux Falls.
Battle of
Which
Sioux Falls.
must have been a dandy.
Bet.
Yeah.
I bet there was no love lost between those
None.
two. None.
None.
Division 3.
Division 3, you have
We got the big playoff game or championship game for the MIAC is this weekend.
well, you have Scholastica beat Hamlin. Who? Northwestern beat Greenville 42-34, and Martin Luther beat Crown O, where I don't know where Crown is, but
That's a 0.
0. Oh,
Yeah.
Crown.
Shut him out,
Crown.
Martin Luther did.
Yeah, and then Minnesota Morris beat Westminster 47-27. I'm sure that Coach Nordquist liked that.
Well, the Johnnies beat Carleton, I believe, and then somehow it all worked out. So the Johnnies are playing Bethel for the MIAC championship for the right to get into the playoffs.
Well,
So for the automatic bid from the
oh yeah,
MIAC.
there's St. John's 55-6 over St. Olaf,
St. Olaf.
and Bethel.
St. Olaf, Carleton, same difference.
Whoa.
Whoa, don't say that.
That would cause on a Norwegian Civil War. Carleton beat Gustavus Adolphus. I say that in humor. Gustavus Adolphus 51-17, and Augsburg beat up McAllister. Now they had an article about McAllister in the paper, and I know why they're getting beat. They have their practices on the field at 6:15 in the morning.
Got to get to class.
No, they gotta compete with soccer teams, and so they only have one field. And so, but at 6:15, you're dressed. They're at 5:45. They're in
They
their
worked
gear.
for Stephen Argyle for many, many years. They won 5 straight championships.
Yeah,
Practicing at 5:50 in the morning.
maybe it had something to do with talent. Not,
Could
not.
have- could have a lot to do with
They all
talent.
realized that they could get enough sleep.
So,
Anyway,
did
that's
you-
kind of the.
did you watch any high school football last weekend?
You know, I really didn't get a chance to, but I did talk to my friend down there in the valley, and we talked about how Chanhassen was going to win,
And they did.
and they did. Let me see, I did bring some stuff down. Yeah, here we go. Owatonna beat Cretan Durham Hall in overtime, and I'm talking 22-21.
Went for 2
Went for 2
and didn't get it.
and didn't get it. So that's that was one interesting game.
Well, Barnesville, who has been kind of the predominant team in Section 8 AA and AA football altogether, they lost in double overtime, 46-44 to Staples Motley. Speaking of close games, Moose Lake Willow River got beat pretty handily.
Pretty handily.
Deer River just got edged out by Monoman by a touchdown. Who else did I miss there? MIB won big over Stephen Argyle.
They're going to be playing Hill Beaver Creek on 1 o'clock on, I guess, this weekend.
So the semifinals for state football are Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Thursday, Friday,
Where
Saturday.
should Tim be?
Well, I know where he's going to be.
Well, he should be, but he ain't going to be because the fool scheduled 2 girls hockey games this weekend. So he won't be at the semifinals.
Well, you got Anoka and Minnetonka and Shakopee and Maple Grove in Class 6A.
Hey, that is who's going to be the runner-up to Maple Grove. Maple Grove, nobody's
even touching them.
they are the new, and I'm going to say it this way: they are the new Eden Prairie. They're nobody's going to touch Maple Grove they are going to be the new dog.
Well, they beat Edina 42-12, and Edina, I think they had lost one game during the year.
And they shut out EP the week before, 34-0.
They did, and that was really kind of surprising because I'm not sure they ever done that before. Tough thing to do. So we have Anoka and Minnetonka, Shakopee and Maple Grove. Anyway, those are going to be good, really good games. And then we have Chanhassen and Elk River, Owatonna and Alexander.
I can't wait to watch that one.
No, that'll be a good one.
Chanhassen and Elk River is going to be just...
Well, and this is what they played this game last year, if you remember.
Huh?
And Elk River was favorite, and Chanhassen came in, beat them, and went on to win the state championship. So, you know what I mean?
You
Hey,
say that there's going to be a little extra on this?
there's going to be lots of extra.
Well,
I know-
more mustard on this
I know
one?
the coaching staff and some of the rest of these guys that are on the Storm team. I got a chance to meet them a few years back. Hey, I'm pulling for you, Storm. Go get them. And at Class 4, we got Becker and Marshall. We love Becker. Tartino Grace at Orono. That's in Class 4. 3A is Dassel, Cokato, and Pequot Lakes.
That's going to be, hey, that's worth the price of admission right there.
That'll be, yeah, they're both undefeated, aren't they?
Pequot, everybody's saying is the best team in 3A. We'll see if Dassel Cokato feels about that.
Well,
and the other game is
Stewartville and Albany.
Could be a slobber knocker as well.
You could.
Stewartville came down from 4A into 3A, and if I remember correctly, won the state title last year. So they're on the defend. How about 2A?
2A.
Staples Motley versus.
Just a second here.
He's
Staples, Kimball area, and Jackson County.
Oh, Jackson County's the favorite. Where's our good friend Randy Anderson to tell us how good Jackson County?
I called him, and he's just leaving out the door to go hunting with his son Chris. And then Chatfield and Staples Motley.
Chatfield. So Chatfield, Jackson County in the state championship game. Oh, love it.
And the single A is Mahnomen and Woburn versus Springfield.
I don't give much chance to Mahnomen against Springfield.
No, I don't either. And Minneota and against Parker's Prairie.
Minneota, watch out. Whew, they're loaded again. I think they've got the most state championships minus Eden Prairie. I think they've got 9 state football championships.
And speaking of 9, we've got Mountain Iron Buell.
MIB.
And they're going to be playing Hills Beaver Creek, Leroy Ostrander, Lyle,
Austin
Pacelli. No wonder they got 4 schools.
And that's a 9-man. And that's a 9-man
It's a 9-man team, and they're going to be wrestling Fertile Beltrami.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know that because Fertile will have some wrestlers on that football team, no doubt about it. Okay.
So great stuff. Looking forward to. I'll have my the phone and the computer will be working feverishly on Thursday and Friday and Saturday.
The problem of it is trying to find one game to watch when you pick it off the board and it's.
But here's the thing: none of them are overlapped now this week. They're all played one after another. So you got 5 on Thursday, 5 on Friday, and 4 on Saturday. You got a spider's chance to see them all.
No, I think that this is going to be like you say. I'm looking for the Elk River Chanhassen Storm game and the Elks and the Storm. That should be a dandy.
And they kind of fiddled with the order of the games again because they found out that the one side of US Bank Stadium, you can't get the people out and the people in for the next game. So now they put small school, big school, small school, big school on these days so that the small school people can get the heck out of the way to let all these big school fans in. So anyway, it's a little different than in the past few years, but man, if the AD hadn't screwed up and put these hockey games this weekend, I know where I'd be living for 3 days.
Well, you see, that's it. It's okay. There's no way that we're going to fire you. So,
anyway, they're asking. Oh, we forgot to talk about how bad the Bears looked yesterday in the NFL. By the way, as well. We don't even want to go down.
But they were just pathetic. And the
9 sacks?
And the Jets, 9 sacks. What are you going to do with that? And
fire the offensive line.
And not to mention the New York Jets. I mean, they just.
I couldn't be happier that the Jets got one.
And our other friend Kirk Cousins down in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's a bad loss for Atlanta.
That was a bad loss.
To New Orleans. Well, they fired their coach.
And New Orleans, I tell you, I love the city. I love the people. Except when Minnesota's playing. But
do you remember about 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, New Orleans was 2-0 and had scored 92 points in the first 2 games, and we're like, how good's New Orleans? Well, we found out that they were 2-7.
I was predicting Dallas was going to win win the whole thing, and I'll tell you what, right now they're not. They're playing just. I have never seen a Dallas Cowboy team this poor, and that's with Michael Parsons too. I mean,
how's Mike McCarthy keeping his job? Is what I want to know.
I don't know.
He must have something on Jerry Jones.
And Mike Zimmer's walking around looking like he's lost as well. So
they showed a picture. They showed a close up of him after Philadelphia had scored, and he was just. Yeah, I chuckled. Sorry, Mike. Anyhow, we got to get off of football. We've been on it for like 45 minutes.
We have,
and we probably could go more. Which sport would you like to go to next?
Well, but you want to talk about Ethan Kalakmanis?
We got time.
We've got to bring it up because
Wish he'd have played that way when he was a Gopher.
I wish he would have played that way, but he got 3 touchdowns, welcoming his team to Piscataway. I had to throw in Piscataway, New Jersey,
Yeah, you don't get
because
to say Piscataway very often.
you don't say it very often. So, but I had to say, congratulations, Ethan. This is what it's all about, and you did well. And you know, all the guys at the end of the game that were giving him hugs, they were white jerseys. They were his teammates, and I'm sure they're close friends.
And they understand what it's all about.
They understand what it's all about. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, I got nothing more to say about those guys. Let's talk about Gopher basketball, just for a second.
For a few seconds, sure.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Well, they played Nebraska Omaha, and I'd like to say that they rubbed them out, but they were awful. Dawson Garcia.
They were awful.
Dawson Garcia, he's the only one that was scoring anything. Now, that being said, Isaac Asimov played 25 minutes of this game. And, Mitchell's hurt. They're going to have some kind of... They're starting to bring him in. He plays very, very well. He's getting assists. He got 2 offensive rebounds, and he got 3 points, but that's going to come. I asked the guru how well is Asimov doing. He says very well.
Yeah, so Isaac's not there to score.
No, he's not there to score.
He scored in high school, but
Yeah.
he'd rather pass the ball. That's what he's there to do, is to distribute and score if given the opportunity.
What I want to see and what you can keep an eye on is the time that he's playing. 25 minutes is a considerable time. In fact, there was only, I think, Garcia was the only one that had more time
minutes?
on the court, and they did that because he was necessary. But he says he adds a certain fluidity to the team, and as a freshman, that this is rare.
I think he understands the game. I think he's cerebral. I don't want to go big verbiage on everybody, but I think he understands the game very, very well.
Oh, I think he does too. Yeah, no, he's a fine athlete. He really is a good athlete.
By the way, you said they didn't play very well, but they won.
Yes.
That was the theme of the weekend, right?
68-64, but they.
Nebraska Omaha might be better than we think.
Well, maybe.
I laugh at that, but and the women are 2-0.
And the women are 2-0.
So, and they also found out this week that they signed one of the best players in the state of Minnesota, a junior from Crosby Arrington, Tori Orline, has announced that she will become a Gopher, not this year, she's only a junior, or next year, but the following year.
Just another of these long line of really good basketball players that are coming out of northern Minnesota, and Minnesota per se.
And Madden Greenway, who plays for Providence Academy, announced that she will not be playing for the Gophers. They are not on her short list of 6. She has eliminated the Gophers, so...
Yeah.
Her dad played for Iowa. Guess where?
Where do
you think she's going to end up?
She's going to wind up at Iowa.
Wind up in Iowa. That's my prediction. Okay. I don't know that, but that's my prediction. Hey, Kansas is #1 in men's basketball. They barely beat North Carolina the other night, who was 9. South Carolina played yesterday against NC State, who was ranked in the top 10.
But you got to see about these NCAA games, especially the first week that they play. They match up some really good pairs, and
there's some big college basketball games this week.
Yes, there are, and so you watch that.
And I can't watch it because it's football season. I'm sorry, it's not time yet.
Well, my wife's leaving me for a few days so I can stay up late, and so I will be staying up watching some basketball.
Did you watch? Speaking of basketball, did you watch your Timberwolves last night?
The Timberwolves were just they fell asleep from the Vikings game, and they just and you can't just rely on Edwards to score. You have to get more offense from the rest of the team, and they just
You know what ticks me off? Here, I'm going to draw everybody a diagram.
Yeah.
Okay? This is what ticks me off.
Oh, did you go all the way? Yeah. Oh, cool. Now play the drum.
That's the 3-point line. You see those 5 X's on there?
Yeah.
That's where the 5 players all stand for the Timberwolves when we're on offense. And then we settle for another 3.
And if they put one down in the blocks,
And another 3.
then you'll have 4 out there. They never have less than 3
They
or 4.
don't move.
They don't
Everybody
move.
comes down, stands around.
Yeah.
They don't even play pick and roll.
No,
I mean, that's an NBA staple. We don't even pick and roll. I mean,
pass the ball until somebody feels they're open and launches it.
and launches a 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I agree, and I watch the women do this. You can always count on their offense. They're going to have 2 in the corners, and they're going to wait for that open shot, and somebody has to kind of watch them. But that when the ball's on the other side, the weak side, you can fade off a lot, and they do it. So then and it's, besides, it's a long shot. It's a low percentage shot. I agree.
And with all that being said, Anthony Edwards made the 3rd most threes in the first 9 games of a season ever.
Yes.
The only one who was better, Steph Curry, twice. I don't know what to make of that. It makes me mad
I
and it
think
makes
this
me
is a
happy at the same
team.
time.
This is a team that's still trying to figure out how to do it without Towns, and once they get that over,
Uncle Paul, who's
Yeah.
wise the ways of the sporting world, says that right now it's Randall that's causing a lot of the issues because he gets it in his mind that, well, it's my turn to shoot this time, and he is not going to give up that basketball no matter what. Now, I think he's partially right, but that's the way the NBA works. It's your turn this time. It's my turn next time. And I'm not saying that that's a good way, but that's the way a lot of NBA teams operate. By the way, Uncle Paul had his knee replaced. I hope that son of a gun starts feeling better soon.
yeah, let's get in a dancing contest there, Uncle Paul.
Had it done on Thursday, did Hayes Monday, and things still aren't looking good. So anyway,
Okay.
hey, Cleveland, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm talking about, not the city. I'm talking about the NBA. 10-0.
Yes.
What the heck?
Didn't see that one coming either, did you?
No. And who else? Did anybody? No. Anyway. Anything else basketball you want to discuss? Other than the Timberwolves are driving me crazy.
Well, and they should be, but I really am looking forward to watching the Gophers play. No, but I do have a question for you.
All right.
This is Parker Fox's 8th year.
But that's it? It's only his 8th year?
And it's just like people are saying, well, how long can your career last? And so, but it
This
was
is it.
COVID.
This is over. This is it.
So
This is
just
the last one.
I just thought I would bring that up. So anyway, it's when I put down here, college. Oh, the Gopher hockey team. They're on an 8-game winning streak.
Took care of the Cheeseheads twice, the
They
Badgers.
took care of the Cheeseheads twice. They got
That's
a very
good.
good team. And actually,
They got
if
a
you take
really
a look
good
at it, they got a really good team. We needed a good team in Minnesota this weekend, and so they kind of hung on to that. We also have Gopher Wrestling starts on Friday. So the Gophers,
Wrestling.
the
That's why
Gophers
we got the
Wrestling,
wrestling shirts on.
Gophers Wrestling, Bucknell, and so let me see.
I tried to find a Gopher wrestling match to fit into my calendar.
Yeah.
Impossible. Can't work it out. Can't make it work. Sorry. Maybe next year. Doggone it.
Well, and then we want to talk about the money in college. Now, and it's just like, and I hate to bring this up, but somebody brought up a thing where 80% of the monies are going to men. And
I
that's,
thought we had Title IX.
I'm not sure, but 80% is not Title IX. I think it was kind of like a 50 thing. But I'm not sure how this is, but somebody has noticed that and said 80% of all this money is going to men. Do you think that is going to be sustainable the way women's sports are taking off right now? I question whether it is.
No, there's no.
There's no way they can't.
But remember now, the women are helping to sustain themselves a little bit better
Yes,
than they have in the past.
much,
And that's said with all the grace. I don't think I said it very well, but I hope everybody understands what I'm trying to say is that women's basketball and the sports, I mean, what was on yesterday afternoon and on Saturday? 4 conference semifinal matches of women's soccer
Yes.
on major TV, not some channel you never heard of. They were on ABC, they were on CBS. Women's basketball was on ESPN. The men's basketball was on ESPN too.
This happens this weekend. My wife and my daughter went to the Gopher Oregon volleyball match.
Did they have scars after they came out of
They did
that?
have scars, but the arena had 17,000 people, and they were packed in there. And when you start getting people like that paying ticket prices and going to these matches, and they got their butts handed to them in 3 games.
Okay, I'm going to say it this way. It's football season. I just got done saying that. On NBC at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, what was on? Volleyball. Penn State versus Wisconsin, and it was really only Wisconsin because I don't think Penn State showed up. They were the number 3 team in the nation, and they got absolutely pea-pounded. It was brutal. NBC had to be way more than disappointed because they figured that baby was going to go 5 sets, 25-23 each of those 5 sets, and Penn State absolutely laid an egg.
And the Gophers did too, but they had an alumni day and they had all the rest of the place was packed. I mean, Karn ran into a classmate of hers with the whole family down there. They never even knew they were each other there. So there's a lot of people going to these matches, and right now Minnesota volleyball might be a little bit down, but they're playing good stiff competition, and they have good athletes coming up, and so I think they'll
make the tournament, and they'll have to do what they got to do.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
Anyway,
you mentioned Gopher hockey. What about your Minnesota Wild?
Well, they're an amazing team. I mean, they've been going around
minus those first 2 periods last night.
And so but they've been going around. I mean, what was their road trip? 6-1-1 or
5-1-1. The previous road trip. Then they came home for 3, and then they went 2-0-1. 2-0-1. Yeah, 2-0-1 because it's an overtime loss.
So the question is, and what I've heard from the analysts is, well, we're not quite sure how good the Wild are, but they're playing really well. And if there's a difference there, I don't know what it is, but
I think the Wild had too much fun at Lou Malnati's on Saturday night and ate too much pizza, and they were weighed down or something. No, it was just an awful first 2 periods last night. Luckily, they got a point out of it. Went to overtime, had a chance or 2 in overtime, but got beat. And
well, Bodie's playing well, and Kaprizov's
out
of mind. So and the goaltenders really was strong.
Cusbus has been good.
And I'm not sure just where the defensemen are lying. I'm just picking up bits and pieces. But
Spurgeon made a bad mistake in the overtime period. He tried to do something as a defenseman and a 15-year veteran he shouldn't be doing, and he cost the Wild the game because he shouldn't be trying to make that kind of play. But that's neither here nor there. I'm okay. They got a point. They went on the road and played 3 games, which means you got a possible 6 points, and they got 5 of them.
Yeah.
Now I know they played San Jose and Anaheim and Chicago, 3 of the worst teams in the NHL, but they got 5 out of 6. So I got a hard time being angry.
Well, no, and we'll take a look at this sometime before Christmas, and we'll see what kind of team we really have. I mean, right now they're hot and they're playing really well at the beginning, and they might get into slumps. They might not, and so.
You know who's not slumping? The Winnipeg Jets.
No, they seem to be going
14-1, the best start ever.
They've lost 1 game
ever. That's 100 years of NHL hockey. It's the best start ever. Nobody's won 14 of their first 15 games in the NHL ever.
Wow.
And they got about 6 UMD hockey players on their thing.
Yes, they do.
And they're one of the dirtiest teams in the league, and there they are sitting at 14-1.
They're not good sports?
They are dirty.
Oh.
And they play that way, and the Wild don't play that way.
No, they don't.
They're mean.
Uh-oh. Mean hockey players.
Winnipeg can't sustain it, but they're a good hockey team. Speaking of not so good hockey teams, the UMD Bulldogs got spanked by North Dakota this weekend. When UMD played Minnesota a couple weeks ago, they got beat up because of the size factor. Same thing happened this weekend. North Dakota's just too big. Just as fast as UNB.
Has North Dakota and Minnesota played yet?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, that might be interesting.
And I don't know if they do because they're not in the same conference. And now we've kind of gotten to the conference schedule, so I don't know if they play each other. And I could have missed it, but
That's too bad. That's an arena filler.
well, when the playoffs come,
Yeah.
it's an arena filled. Anyway, the Wild are off until Thursday, probably a well-deserved rest, and we'll see what happens. You talked about the Gophers weekend for volleyball. They are at Nebraska on Thursday. They're the number 2 team in the nation. They've only lost this many times.
Yeah,
I think they're 24-1.
You go from Oregon to Nebraska, and these ratings, you take.
Well, they played Washington, who's no slouch either.
yeah.
So, state volleyball tournament was this past weekend. 4 champions crowned. Nobody from up north got a chance, but I believe they said that a team from Section 8 won a state title. Was it Holly?
Holly.
First time a team from Section 8 has won since like 2010, which blew my mind. But anyway, volleyball came to an end. Girls swimming and diving for the Broncos came to an end over the weekend. A couple of good finishes.
Yeah.
Kieran Ford took 6th in diving. The 2 relays, the 200 individual medley, or the 200 medley relay, and the 200 free, they both took 5th place, which is very good, considering the competition in Grand Rapids and
That is very good.
Ridges
Yeah.
and the Masabi East of the world. So good job to them. Sylvia Valenzuela took 8th in the 200 IM, and maybe the sleeper and a proud papa sent me this text. Brooklyn Dowdy was in the B final, so technically the best she could finish was 9th. But she swam so well on Saturday, her time would have taken 5th place in the A final. She trimmed over almost or just right around 3 seconds off her
Was she like a
time.
9th grader?
She's a 10th grader.
10th grader.
And she swam almost 3 seconds faster on Saturday than she did on Thursday. Had been dealing with a little bit of illness, so watch out for Brooklyn Dowdy in the breaststroke.
And her dad could never even swim, so it's
Probably, he was too busy.
Too busy playing basketball.
Too busy playing with those sports that had a ball involved. He probably was a dang good swimmer, but I think he might get that from her mother.
Yeah,
I think mom maybe was a pretty good swimmer.
She was a real fine athlete. So was dad.
And so as long as we're talking about Derek Dowdy, girls basketball starts today. Practice. Boys hockey practice also starts today. A lot of excitement in that program, and of course, Double D and Luke Zika being back in the girls program. A lot of excitement there as well. A lot of young youth in this girls basketball program. 1 senior, possibly 4 juniors, and then 16 or 17 9th and 10th graders.
Well, in the 9th, 10th bunch, I mean, they were good last year too, so they knew that this crew was coming up.
We'll see what happens.
Let's talk about our Bronco football all-stars. We had a few.
We had a few.
Yeah. Let's talk about Kane Thompson for one.
Yeah, King Thompson, district MVP, the Blue Division defensive MVP. To be honest, there really wasn't much of a conversation. He was that good.
He was that good.
He had a great year. Of course, Cooper Crandall had a great year, both sides of the ball. What would his numbers have been if he hadn't sprained his ankle against Greenway, Nashwauk, Keewatin? He missed a game and a half there, and probably wasn't full speed until the end of the season.
Even that, I mean, I heard his statistics, like every carry was over 7 yards.
Yeah, I think it was 7.2 yards per carry is what he averaged for the season.
That's not bad, folks. That's not bad.
That's pretty good. So, a fine year for the football team, 6-4,
and we've got some returning juniors coming back here. Not only Thompson,
considering that we only had 3 seniors.
Only have 3 seniors, so we'll be missing Torrin Thompson and is
Cooper and
Line.
No, Line's a junior. What am I missing? Wow. I'm embarrassed. Sorry, folks.
Okay.
Sorry to the 3rd senior, because right now it's escaping me. I'm going through. It's not in the offensive line because all the juniors, they're all coming back. The whole offensive line's coming back.
What are you telling me? They're going to have a pretty good team coming back next year?
They should be okay.
All right.
They should be okay. Plus, their quarterback threw for 1,846 yards and 22 touchdowns.
No, I had a parent one time come up to me and said, you know, I think we have a team here that could be used for a triple option. And the key to a triple option is a quarterback. Do you think that he could, because he runs pretty well, I don't know if he hides the ball. I mean, you really have to be a tricky quarterback to run that triple
No
option.
offense intended, but I don't think he's that kind of quarterback.
I don't think he is
I don't
either,
think
but I'm
so.
just asking.
But that's just one man's opinion.
He's got so much speed back there that it's nice to, and maybe I watch too many Army games, but
MLS, of course, last week we talked about the fact that Minnesota United had advanced, but they get 3 weeks off in the playoffs. They get 3 weeks off for the international break, and now they'll play the LA Galaxy.
doesn't that
when they
hurt
come
him
in.
having that kind of break?
Yeah, that's why they're talking that the soccer season, listen to this now, it's going to start in, just like they do in Europe. It's going to start in August. It's going to end in May. And here in the States, they'll take a break for all of December and half of January. Or is it half of December and all of January? They'll take a 6-week break because of the cold weather, but then they'll jump back into it. You got to remember, they got a team in Montreal.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, there's a reason that you cover up your stadium when it's 30 below, and it's just, you know.
It's going to be they talked about the fact that the Minnesota fans will come out in June and July. Will they come out in November
Yeah,
and
but,
February? When
the real soccer fans will. They're
they will,
crazy, you know.
They're crazy. I agree.
Yeah.
Anything else? I got one thing left.
I don't think so. I think I'm done.
That's probably good because we're already over an hour. But of
Yeah,
course,
it was
I have to wish a happy birthday to one of your good friends and my good friend. On Thursday, your little buddy Eli turns 10.
Eli, my man.
Turns 10. We were discussing it today. You know, everybody had school off today, and we were discussing that he's going to turn 10. He's no longer going to be single digits on Thursday, and that is going to break his mother's heart.
I was asked by a survey if, as a senior citizen in the community, I have contact with any youth. And this was the day after Eli came to visit me, and I says, "You bet I do." And it's one. Eli is here for a purpose, to keep me young.
10. How could it be 10 years since he graced broke our world apart?
It just kind of, yeah. Well, it's too late. You got to keep him now.
Everything was going. Yeah. Anyway, happy birthday, Eli. You little.
Yeah, Eli, my man.